perfect battlefield. This video was actually supposed to be the last part of my battlefield project, where I showed how the best battlefield would look like in detail. While the first part was mainly focused on game modes and maps, and the second part on guns and gameplay, the third and last part is all about immersion and post-launch updates. One of the most important aspects regarding multiplayer games, since the immersion decides the long-term success of every video game. Now, with all those leaks about the next battlefield popping up everywhere on the internet, I'd combine my thoughts about this topic with the leaks we saw in order to give some ideas and feedback, since Battlefield Labs is available for everyone. Now, in order to comprehend everything I'm going to talk about, it won't be necessary for you to watch the other parts. I'm gonna sum everything up if it's important. Nevertheless, you're always welcome if you decide to check them out. Now, with that being said, let's get started. Now, first of all, why the immersion? What's so important about it? Immersion in every video game is responsible for its success. I mean, of course, the game gotta be free from bugs and has to work properly in order to be playable for the mass majority. But the programming is that part which always needs to be working. I mean, it's the core foundation. Immersion, however, is that part that gives the game its character. That part where people are able to recognize the game with only a couple of frames. And that consists of sound design, visuals, and gameplay elements. Let's have a closer look to the first point, sound design.
We're surrounded! We have to hold this line!
If you're instantly hooked or even scared within the first seconds as soon as you start to play, you know that the sound design is great. If it comes to gaming, we only have two senses actively working, eyes and ears. While your eyes see one direction at once on the screen, your ears sense everything around you. Of course, depending on your device, whether you play with headsets or speakers. So basically, the audio makes half the game. Now, if you want your battlefield to be immersive, it has to come with blasting explosions, bullets ripping apart your surrounding, and soldiers screaming in fear of death. In the end, it's war. A one-way ticket for the mass majority, and you gotta hear that. So cringy Hollywood-like bluffs and stupid main character vibes ain't not the place.
Oh, I'm ready. Oh, I climbed Everest. It's been all downhill from there. You get it?
In addition to the surrounding, we need a decent introduction music, a short sound that fits to the theme of the map, which already tells you what to expect from what's about to happen. Same goes for the tension before the end of the round. It ain't much, but motivates some people to squeeze out the rest they got. Up next, visuals, and we'll stay with the introduction. First impressions are very important, especially if you're about to start a new match. I loved COD World War II's War Mode for one specific reason, the round introductions. The first footage you get as soon as you start the match. It was awesome. Before you even started to walk on a map, you knew what to do and had something to look at. Then, Infinity Ward went on and bought a first-person introduction with Modern Warfare 2019. And that was fucking awesome. I mean, it's way more interesting than just standing around for 15 to 20 seconds. And DICE noticed this as well and brought a little cutscene, as we saw in the leaked footage, where your squad walks together for a couple of seconds. Now, if I was in charge of making these introductions, I would extend them and make various locations where your character interacts more with the surrounding. Let's say one map plays in a very populated city, where many civilians are being evacuated, and your character escorts some of them to a nearby truck before he turns around, turns off the safety of his rifle, and crawls to his squad mates and takes defensive position. Or, in operations, as I mentioned in part 1, watch all the destroyed and eliminated friendlies from the last attack from the gunner seat of your vehicle right before the counter hits 0 and your squad mate on the driver's seat steps on the gas towards the objectives. Little details that tell a short story from first person. That alone makes a huge difference. Now, besides the graphics and light intensity, you can make the game more immersive when mud, rain and blood sticks to your character and on your screen. Same goes with gore and brutal takedown animations. For some people it might look unnecessary and psychopathic, but it gives that extra feel of terror and why you're glad to be comfortable on your setup. Now with the audio and the visuals combined, we could make the game more dynamic with special effects regarding gameplay elements, like going deaf and losing balance for a very short time if a cannon is being shot right next to you, like in OG COD, or getting tossed around when an objective or a vehicle explodes beside you. Overall, animations when interacting with anything increase the immersion generally. I know that many don't like too many scripted animations that can't be cancelled, because it makes you a slow-moving target like bailing out of a vehicle. But that actually depends on the speed. Instead of casually dismounting from your car, you could make them quicker, or at least give the feature to cancel it if you're being shot at, for example. One thing I also thought about is radio, or more like radio music when driving a vehicle. Now don't get me wrong, I want a serious atmosphere that looks frightening. But listening to the radio while going into battle is something being used as a morale boost throughout different military units. The music, of course, depends on the type and the vibes. I mean, listening something fancy and happy while being ambushed on your way to an objective is unironically terrifying for psychological standards.
Apollo, lean out and cover him.
But I would tend to minimize towards rock and specific badass songs that fit to the military. I mean, just imagine starting an operation, spawning in with a jet from a platform similar to Battlefield 3's campaign because more immersion, and blasting the enemy positions while listening to Parish Hall. But that comes of course with additional effort and copyrights the companies won't dare to take care of. I mean, we already see how they struggle with goddamn weapon names.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
And as far as I know, some leaks confirmed that we won't get a radio for the next Battlefield.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
And something else that has been confirmed as well are some guns and vehicles. It looks like that DICE made the story for the next Battlefield more about different countries fighting each other as coalitions. So exactly as I wanted and predicted. It delivers way more opportunities for content and much more freedom for the storytelling, especially with a modern setting. It makes way more sense to see uniforms from different countries fighting on the same side on the same map. Same goes for voice lines. Now, this might probably be a lot to ask, but it could make interactions between players more interesting. What if you could customize your profile and name what languages you speak? Something that's quite possible with the global connections that we have today. You could customize the nation of your profile and what languages you speak. And whenever your random squad mate and you, or another teammate, interact with each other, which isn't English, you would speak another language with each other. For example, in my case, it would be English, German, Turkish, French and Spanish. Now if I played around with a random who has French on his list as well, my character would talk French whenever I interact with him, and English if he just spoke Italian, for example. That might be a feature that could make some highlights throughout the game and connect the players a little more, and would actually be somehow believable in the narrative of the game. With the visuals and audio set, we can refine the game and make it more immersive with specific gameplay mechanics. I covered most of them in the previous parts, such as movement, gear and equipment. In order to make the game more immersive, you just gotta keep the game authentic. So a bit more in favor of fun rather than realism. It should just give us the feeling of a serious situation in the end. And that's where the skins make all the difference. The Battlefield community always seek for an authentic atmosphere, which means that the skins need to look realistic. So soldiers with lots of gear, mostly covered, and as the name says, uniformal. So no attachments that make them look too diverse, with chose characteristics. Your teammates next to you gotta feel like nameless souls that are running with you right into the meat grinder. So no fancy cosmetics that are anticlimactic, like colorful or glowing skins similar to COD. It actually sounds like something very simple to achieve. So why is it that companies these days tend to ruin the immersion with skins that are technically even harder to create than milsims? The answer is the shop. Thanks to Fortnite, every studio just copy-pastes the skin variants from Fortnite and tries to integrate them to their game. We got no problem with skins though. But what I don't get is, why do you even have to, first of all, compete against a game that's far from yours, which is even supposed to be for another target audience, and second, try to sell them to a similar price, or even more expensive? Look, I ain't no expert, just someone who's interested in psychology, but can please somebody tell me what these fools were thinking when they created the skins for Battlefield 2042? So, let's be clear. You, DICE, create a fictional story on purpose that tells a story about the broken world with fallen countries, where people need to find a new place to call home and at the same time fight for two of the remaining superpowers, Russia and the US, wow, how original, to secure the few resources left on the planet. So, volunteers from different nations creating new smaller groups with their own equipment joining the fight. My question is, with such a great opportunity, how the could you mess it up with skins like these? The next Battlefield seems to have a similar storytelling. So, coalitions versus coalitions. So they got a chance to do it right this time, if they decide not to bring any operators. What I and many others thought about as well is, why don't you just implement specific countries in a coalition and sell real-life uniforms for a cheap price? That's the best option you got for a Battlefield game, and I'll tell you why. As I mentioned in part 2, you would have 2 default skins for both factions for all classes everyone gets right from the beginning. So the typical noob skins. Their equipment would have small differences in shape and color in order to recognize their faction. If we now get, let's say, the British Army with a new update, you'd get like a new battle pass with only interesting items, like gun, vehicle and character skins. I give a about weapon charms and all that other nonsense. I don't care if you want Hello Kitty on your AK like that Ukrainian soldier. That just ain't the place and not worth the resources. Sorry. And nobody expects you to bring a 100-tier battle pass. Give me like 40 items and sell it for $8. That's it. Now if you get rid of the FOMO as well, you'd even make more money as players would play for fun and not for the in-game items. Plus, it reduces your asshole status a lot more within the community. Now besides the typical battle pass, you'd probably like to sell some special skins, which is okay, as long as they're authentic. And trust me, psychologically, it's possible to gain the player's interest and earn lots of money, like this one. Let's stay with the British Army. Next to the regular uniforms from the battle pass, you could sell the elite units as a legendary skin. You know, legendary, so it can't be mixed with other uniform parts. Now what's the most popular elite of the British? Exactly, the SAS. And which uniforms are mostly known? Those dark gear seen during the siege of the Iranian embassy. I know, they don't look too fancy. And that's the point! They're somehow realistic and gain people's interest through emotion. That most powerful trigger in our brain that make us buy stuff. Many have a connection to them, seeing their homeland heroes as playable characters, or anybody else who's seen the movies or played COD 4. And if you invest this little effort to just copy-paste a default skin, paint it black, and place the Union Jack right under the coalition marking, I guarantee you will make more money with these boring looking skins than goddamn Santa Claus. These skins are more than cosmetics. They represent bravery, history, and the very thing we boys always dreamed to be. Something the Turtles, or Snoop Dogg, will never trigger. And for that little effort you gave to make this skin, you will sell it for only $2.99. Another factor that will make people buy it: the cheap price. It looks almost like nothing. It doesn't look that much, and that's exactly why more people are likely to buy it. $2.99 for one skin of a specific class with all camouflage for every environment, and $9.99 for the whole squad, with the intention of buy 3, get 4. If you do it like this, people are going to run after the shop, especially if their nation comes with its own bundle. I'm telling you, 4 skins like this get you more profit than all the season pass from 2042 combined. You can do so much stuff with very few effort. You got lots of opportunities, and some people would even be willing to buy all of them just as a collection. And as you heard, I always talked about season pass and not DLC. The reason for that can be found in this video, cause if done right, the season pass with skins are always superior as microtransactions. So, great audio, detailed visuals, lots of animations, and cheap real-life milsim skins for characters, guns, and vehicles. That's the best option you got. Take it or leave it. And not just dice. The identity crisis seems to appear in every goddamn studio out here. Therefore, remember my words. Immersion always decides the success of your game. I have spoken. Now, guys, if I forgot something important to mention, let me know about your thoughts in the comment section. With that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe. I thank you for listening till the end, and I'll see you in the next video.